Hello. I'm just gonna show you how to make a lead using the Virus TI emulation by the usual suspects, the Ostirus. I'll just play it and then I'll explain like what everything does and what is my thought process when I design something. This isn't trance. I mean, it could be used for trance, like 100%, but pretty much hardstyle at this point. I'll just play it. So there's a couple things going on. We have a group with 3 leads. One of them is a virus. Okay, this is not gonna work. Okay, just go here. We have one singular lead here. Then we have another here. And then we have a silent one lead that I actually haven't made any video about this plugin, but it's pretty useful, it's pretty good. And together they sound big. So I use a group for the cutoff. I just map it to the filter with the basic ADSR here. I like having a bit of sustain, but so I'll start with the processing actually. To get that really like huge lead sound, you kind of need to compress it. I like using a 2A. It just squashes it down. And I set it on the high frequency mode, and I don't use the analog features because they add noise. And then we have a EQP1A analog emulation of EQ. It's doing a lot of things actually. We have the boost. I use a 16 to really boost, not the harmonics, but even above the harmonics, the noise to make it big, loud. Since it's analog emulation, it just adds like saturation. Could have used just whatever EQ. Just boosted, like, I don't know, maybe this is like a good replacement, just add a curve. Just something like that, but this is practically what it does, and it does add a bit of saturation. And then you have attenuation. I mean, the name speaks for itself. I use it at the 20 kilohertz to kind of tame whatever this is doing. Way too much noise, so I just, a little bit. And then delay, I use H delay. It's really good. I just like how it echoes the high frequencies, contributes greatly to the filled high-end stereo-wise. The reverb, just a vintage verb. Bright hall, bit of pre-delay, so the transients of the lead, or rather the notes, are distinct. I could even go higher. Usually when you have a bright, lush reverb, you don't really want that low of a pre-delay, or else it's kind of gonna mud up the lead in a certain way. I left all of this default. I just changed the attack. It used to be at 50. I want more of a lush, since we already have the delay contributing to early reflections, I guess. I cut the bass here with the low cut, then mix 25 like the delay. Pretty good. I think I did something wrong here. It's just very bright naturally, which is why I put a Pro Q after. Pro Q4 has these saturation presets here. I use the warm. I like what it does when you cut off everything past here. I'll let you hear. I don't even know if it's going to be recorded. We're cutting out all that noise here, and this thing here adds simple saturation. Also cut out some of the sides here at about 300 hertz. The moment we're going to put a bass line or a kick, there's just going to be a load of mud on the side channels, and I kind of like it. Just like how it cleans up a little bit, that area of the spectrum. So yeah, I cut off kind of abruptly. I mean, it's barely audible, and all it does is it fills up like 20 dB. I don't even know if it's audible in the recording. You'll have to trust me on this one, I guess. I like having the mid and the side. I can solo just the sides. I can also see what's happening mid-side wise. And then millimeters, it's just You know, it's just a waveform. I like seeing my waveform, and I will explain exactly why in just a minute. So zeros here, this is negative, this is positive. You can see it's kind of shifted towards the bottom. If we look at the 0 line, we see there's more at the bottom than at the top. Analog emulation of synth, it kind of adds what we call DC offset. Amplitudes get globally pushed somewhere because of filters, and I use ring modulation, and I use distortion. And then I use an analog emulation of a 2A, and then I use an analog emulation of an EQ. A bunch of filters, a bunch of maybe unipolar saturation curves could cause this. There's a simple fix. Actually, there's many fixes, but my go-to fix is you find out where it's causing the DC offset. So you disable everything. Let's disable everything, and let's solo the lead. Well, we see that just the lead by itself has DC offset towards the negative. Before fixing it, I'll kind of explain why this is a problem. Let's say you'd like to clip or saturate this layer specifically. You see we're like clipping, practically. Let me shift it down. It's just clipping the bottom part. It's thinking it's loud. The signal indicates that it's really loud, it's almost clipping, but we can actually just clip all the way down there to kind of find out that it's actually a -9 dB or about. Basically, it's gonna completely destroy dynamics if we don't fix it. What I like to do to fix it is just use an all-pass filter, which basically just shifts the phase. Well, I like to try a couple of things beforehand. I like to put a very steep brick wall low cut, which will kind of destroy the phase. So maybe this will work. Clearly didn't work. Let's move it. Well, we see here it's better, but we're losing frequencies. The alt pass, still bottom. Well, that's already much better. It's already much, much better. So this works. Now we've successfully fixed the DC offset, and we can maybe see it's actually more like a -6, but it sounds the same. We're -4 completely before. Now we're like, well, but we're averaging out like definitely amongst the -6. So we've tackled that problem. I don't think this is the only lead that has DC offset issue, so we're gonna check the second one. Same problem. Copying the same EQ. Well, I'm lucky because that fixed it. Even the silent has it. You see it's actually shifted up now. So we can try moving that around until we get something satisfying. This is moving up. Still a little down. This is satisfying enough for me, for what I'm doing. Okay, so we're done, right? No! Gotta start putting the plugins one by one. Let's put the compressor on. We're fine. Put the EQ on. We're fine. Put the delay. Verb. Okay, so logically we should be good, right? It's a little shady, even with just the EQ. Pretty good. So we've kind of fixed it. -6. That's kind of better. And now we have more headroom. Basically free headroom. Because we just did that. And it barely changes the sound. So this is how I process the leads for the virus emulation. The technique of fixing the DC offset that I used works well when you want to stay with the instruments, but if you bounce to track, you can just completely remove it manually. Time to make the lead now. So we're gonna start from scratch. I might just write a little melody, just for fun. Okay, we have a kind of disgustingly bad melody. We can always change it later. Let's load in the virus. Very menacing synth, apparently. I'll try to explain as much how this synth works. It's free. The synthesizer is free. Kind of like JE8086. It is an emulator of the Virus TI. I think they also have Ostirus for Virus B and C. You need a ROM for this plugin to work, but do a little digging. We're gonna init. To init, you just select any bank and you init. The first layer I like to start with usually defines the whole sound of the lead. What I mean by that is the amplifier envelope and the filter envelope, the directing lead, the leader. The Virus TI is known for its hypersaw. you already have a very nice super saw. So this thing here, max volume is here, and beyond that, it adds saturation, ring modulation. Probably the most important setting of all of this synth. Now what I was thinking is maybe like a detuned saw a little bit. So we have one hyper saw on oscillator 1. Oscillator 3, it's currently off. So I'm gonna use it maybe on another lead, or you have a detune, which kind of works like a fine tune going upwards. I think the fine tune of this one goes downwards. This could be a good starting point with unison. This is kind of like the synth 1. The behavior is kind of the same. It's mono until you duplicate the voices and you spread them. This could be good, but I was thinking maybe giant, huge detune saw. So I'll add portamento. Okay, reasonable. It's kind of lacking on the high end. We could use noise, but I'd like to start with ring mod. Let's look at the effects. When you load the init, there's always this analog boost. I don't really have any idea what it does. I just don't like it. I kind of like this sound already. We can see that it's very loud. I don't know music theory. I reduced the amount of voices for each because we have a lot of... This kind of works for me. I'd like a little punch maybe. Not this punch. This kind of adds a... You know, a little artificial punch, I guess. I like doing my punches like this. You put a small delay. Because instead of a click with a different frequency range than the actual lead used as the transient, you actually get the lead frequencies as the transient, if that makes sense. Also, this comes by default here, and it works like you can have 2 filters. This is useful for many things, but not what I'm trying to do here. Filter 1. What's interesting is the envelope here. This kind of works exactly like the video I made in Synth 1. I like to add a little bit of release. Everything starts at the same phase, so the LFO phase is here for this. It kind of cycles through the phase. Not gonna go too wide on this one. I added a third oscillator, an octave higher, but quiet. Just giving the idea that there's a third layer there, but it's not actually there. We are, however, going to use a distortion. I'm going to use a rectifier for this one. Kind of just amplifies whatever ring mod we have going on. Now I don't know yet, but this section we might change it to mono, depending on how much shit going on. Gonna put a little bit of release. Just gonna group it. If you're using another DAW, make a bus channel and apply the processing on it. I'll lead 1. I will duplicate it so we keep the same envelope, and then I will just go and change the lead on this one. I'm gonna go FM noise. I'm actually gonna use light. I'm gonna use the LFOs and put them on the pitch. Okay, that's just gonna be lead 2, I guess. And then I'm just gonna dupe it again. I think we're gonna go double hypersaw. It's like the worst lead I've ever made in my entire life. Let me just grab a lead from my latest video. Let's just drop the volume of all of these before doing anything. And then maybe I could end it with a Serum for the last one. Amazing. Thank you. Why do you need my firewall? Just one layer of digital. Okay, processing. I'm just gonna do what I did. Honestly, it's kind of a winning chain. Stay between -1 and -3. Yeah, I guess I'll just EQ it right now. I'm gonna need a spectrum for this. I'm actually gonna stay at 12 here. You gotta use your ears. You can't just copy every setting. I think we can add delay and reverb. Starting to sound like something. Way too much bass. Let me just move this here. Open both. Let's look. We can see like around 80 to 300. I mean, it's got style, you know? Like if you're trying to do like music that just sounds good and you don't care about any standards whatsoever, purely optional. It's just personal, you know? I personally don't like having sides down there. I think it tickles my brain too much, especially here. I deem this reasonable. I'm just gonna do the high cut. Like all of this, there's just so much information just not worth keeping. I'm gonna add saturation. I should probably fix the ADSR. See, this is actually a really good use case where parallel kind of sounds better to me. So I might have to say goodbye. I kind of do like how this sounds. Okay, let's make a macro for the cutoff. Let's start mapping. I just like having a, you know, like a uniform control for cutoff. Oh, I just noticed I'm gonna have to make an envelope. Oh, that was pretty good actually. Kind of like how this sounds. This is like a really good trance lead. Let's listen compared to this one. It has different characteristics for sure. Let's just look at the waveform really quickly, see what we can do. As expected. Holy. That's pretty nice. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a universal synth, you know? It can be used for trance, hardstyle, whatever floats your boat. Let's add a bass to this. Okay, I mean, whatever, let's just automate this. Let's try giving it a little more release. Now that's a lead. That's an art. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, well, that was it. Thanks for watching.